The grand entrance of the luxurious Majestic Crown Hotel glimmered under the glow of the streetlights. Business travelers, families, and couples streamed in and out, their luggage wheels humming against the polished marble floor. Inside, the lobby bustled with activity as staff members darted between the front desk and the concierge, ensuring the five-star experience the hotel was known for. Among the guests entering the lobby that evening was Andre Bennett, a tall, well-dressed black man in his mid-40s. His demeanor was calm yet confident, his tailored suit a testament to his meticulous nature. Andre had just returned to the city after months abroad, visiting his hotel properties in Europe and Asia. Tonight, he decided to check in at the Majestic Crown without prior notice. The hotel was one of many he owned, but this time, he wanted to experience it as a guest, unannounced, to see how his staff treated the people who kept the business thriving. Your support to this channel is well appreciated and is not taken for granted. Before we continue, make sure you like, share, and subscribe by clicking on the buttons. Do not forget to turn on the notification bell for more inspiring stories. Thank you. As Andre approached the front desk, the manager on duty, Mr. Carter, noticed him from across the lobby. Mr. Carter was a middle-aged white man, with a sharp suit and a smug expression that rarely left his face. He prided himself on keeping the Majestic Crown's reputation pristine, often making snap judgments about who was worthy of staying at the prestigious establishment. Andre smiled as he reached the counter. "Good evening. I'd like to book a room for the night." Mr. Carter glanced at Andre, his eyes scanning him from head to toe. His expression quickly turned cold. "I'm sorry, sir, but we're fully booked," he said curtly, barely making eye contact. Andre tilted his head slightly, unfazed by the response. "Fully booked? That's odd. I checked your website earlier, and it showed several rooms available." Mr. Carter's lips thinned. "The website isn't always accurate. We have no rooms left." A young woman, likely a trainee, stood behind Mr. Carter, nervously glancing between him and Andre. She knew the hotel wasn't fully booked, there were at least a dozen rooms available. But she also knew better than to challenge her superior. Andre maintained his calm demeanor. "Is that so? Then perhaps you can explain why there are still vacancies listed for tonight?" Mr. Carter straightened his posture, his tone growing more dismissive. "Sir, I'm not sure why you're questioning me, but I assure you, there's nothing available. May I suggest trying one of the hotels across town?" By now, a few guests in the lobby had begun to notice the exchange. Some whispered among themselves, while others looked on with curiosity. Andre exhaled slowly, his patience wearing thin but his composure unbroken. "I see," Andre said evenly. "If that's the case, may I speak to the general manager? Perhaps they can clarify." Mr. Carter stiffened. "The general manager is unavailable tonight. And frankly, I don't appreciate you causing a scene." Andre raised an eyebrow. "Causing a scene? I'm simply asking for a room at a hotel where I know there's availability." Mr. Carter smirked, leaning slightly over the counter. "Look, sir, this is a high-end establishment. We cater to a certain clientele, and I'm afraid you don't fit that description." The room fell silent. Even the guests who had been trying to mind their own business couldn't ignore the blatant racism in Mr. Carter's words. The trainee behind the counter looked horrified but said nothing, her hands trembling as she adjusted a stack of brochures. The fact that Mr. Carter, the manager, didn't recognize Andre as the owner of the hotel stemmed from a combination of arrogance and ignorance. Carter, while experienced in hospitality management, had grown complacent in his position. He prided himself on knowing important guests, but had never taken the time to familiarize himself with the larger corporate structure of the Majestic Crown. He operated on assumptions, judging people by their appearances rather than their credentials. Andre, as a strategic leader, rarely plastered his face on promotional material or made a show of his visits, preferring to run his business quietly. Andre locked eyes with Mr. Carter, his voice steady but laced with an unmistakable edge. "I see. And what exactly about me doesn't fit your clientele?" Before Mr. Carter could respond, a man in a dark suit approached the counter, his expression a mix of urgency and dread. It was Mr. Caldwell, the hotel's general manager. He had been alerted to the commotion by a staff member and rushed to the scene. The general manager, Mr. Caldwell, had been in his office attending to administrative duties when the scene in the lobby began to unfold. One of the staff members, noticing the escalation between Carter and Andre, quickly alerted Caldwell, knowing that this wasn't a typical interaction. Caldwell immediately made his way to the lobby, horrified when he realized the person Carter was disrespecting was none other than their boss. As someone who reported directly to Andre, Caldwell was well aware of the gravity of the situation. His hurried appearance was an attempt to mitigate the damage before it spiraled further. "Mr. Bennett," Caldwell said, his voice strained but respectful. "I wasn't aware you were visiting tonight." Mr. Carter froze, his smug expression melting into confusion. "Wait, you know him?" Caldwell shot him a glare before turning back to Andre. "Of course. Mr. Bennett is the owner of this hotel." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Guests gasped, and the trainee's eyes widened in disbelief. Mr. Carter's face turned ghostly pale as he stumbled over his words. I didn't know. I wasn't informed." Andre held up a hand, silencing him. "You weren't informed because I wanted to experience this hotel as any guest would. And now I have." The tension in the room was palpable as Andre turned to Caldwell. "I'll need a full report on tonight's operations by tomorrow morning." And as for Mr. Carter, he looked directly at the manager, his gaze piercing. "Consider this your last shift." Carter stammered, his voice desperate. "Please, Mr. Bennett, I didn't mean." "You meant every word," Andre interrupted, his tone firm. "And those words reflect poorly on this establishment and everyone who works here. Pack your things." The room remained silent as security escorted Mr. Carter out of the building. Andre turned to the trainee, who looked on the verge of tears. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Emily," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "You knew there were rooms available, didn't you?" Andre asked. Emily nodded hesitantly. "Yes, sir. I wanted to say something, but I was afraid." Andre gave her a reassuring smile. "I understand. It's not easy to stand up in situations like that. But next time, remember that doing the right thing is what matters most." Emily nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. Andre turned to Caldwell. "Make sure Emily receives proper training and support. She has potential." The general manager nodded quickly, eager to follow instructions. As the evening wound down, Andre finally checked into a suite, grateful for the peace and quiet. But he knew his work wasn't done as the whole scene replayed in his head. The next morning, he held a staff meeting, addressing the importance of inclusivity and respect in their workplace. He shared his experience, emphasizing that such behavior would never be tolerated. One of the guests waiting in the lobby, who works with a newspaper company, recorded the incident. The story of what happened at the Majestic Crown spread quickly, making headlines and sparking conversations about racism and discrimination in the hospitality industry. Andre used the incident as a catalyst for change, implementing new policies and training programs across all his properties. For Andre, the experience was a reminder of why he worked so hard to achieve success, not just for himself, but to challenge the barriers that still existed for others. And as he walked through the lobby of the Majestic Crown, greeted by smiles and warmth from the staff, he knew he was making a difference. After Andre calmly but firmly handled the situation, word of the incident began to spread through the hotel almost immediately. Several guests in the lobby had witnessed the confrontation and recorded parts of it on their phones. Another guest, a well-known travel blogger staying at the Majestic Crown, shared a detailed post about the event on social media. She praised Andre's composure and leadership while condemning Carter's behavior. Her post quickly gained traction, with thousands of likes and shares within hours. As the days passed, the story of Andre Bennett's confrontation at the Majestic Crown rippled far beyond the hotel's walls as it continued to garner more publicity. Local news stations picked up the story, framing it as a powerful example of how unchecked bias could backfire. Headlines like "Hotel Owner Confronts Racism in His Own Lobby" and "A Lesson in Leadership: How One Man Transformed a Moment of Bias" dominated social media feeds. The media coverage was fueled further by interviews with guests who had witnessed the incident, as well as a statement released by the Majestic Crown addressing the event and outlining their commitment to inclusivity. Social media platforms buzzed with discussions about Andre's calm but firm response, making him a symbol of dignity and resilience. Andre, however, wasn't interested in fame. His focus remained on addressing the deeper issues exposed by the incident. Andre's decision to publicly acknowledge the incident and use it as a teaching moment only amplified its reach. He collaborated with his PR team to craft a statement that highlighted the steps the hotel chain was taking to ensure such behavior wouldn't happen again. His message was one of accountability, transparency, and the need for systemic change. He immediately called for an internal audit of hiring and training practices across all his properties. The results, though not surprising, were sobering. There were gaps in diversity and inclusivity training, and several reports of subtle but persistent biases from employees and guests alike. The incident became a talking point not just in the hospitality industry but in broader discussions about racism and bias in professional spaces. Andre's leadership and calm demeanor were widely praised, turning a potentially damaging moment into an opportunity for growth and reform. Andre arranged for a summit at the Majestic Crown, inviting hotel managers and staff from across his chain to attend. He hired a team of diversity and inclusion experts to lead the discussions, emphasizing the importance of creating an environment where everyone, guests and employees, felt respected. The summit included workshops, role-playing scenarios, and open forums where employees could share their experiences and suggestions. One particularly moving moment came during an open forum when Emily, the trainee who had been at the front desk during the incident, stood up to speak. Her hands trembled as she held the microphone, but her voice was steady. "When I saw what was happening that night, I wanted to say something," she began, her eyes glancing toward Andre. "But I was scared. I was new, and I didn't think anyone would listen to me. That experience taught me how important it is to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. And I want to thank Mr. Bennett for not just forgiving me, but for giving me a chance to grow." The room erupted in applause, and Andre gave her an approving nod. After the summit, he offered Emily a mentorship program to help her develop into a leadership role within the company. Meanwhile, the former manager, Mr. Carter, found himself struggling to find new employment. Word of his actions at the Majestic Crown had spread, tarnishing his reputation. Though Andre had no intention of publicly shaming him, the consequences of his behavior served as a cautionary tale for others in the industry. One day, weeks after the incident, Andre received an unexpected email from Carter. The tone was humble, almost pleading. "Mr. Bennett, I wanted to reach out to apologize again for my behavior. Losing my job and facing the backlash from my actions has been a wake-up call. I've enrolled in courses on diversity and inclusion, and I'm working to better myself. I hope, someday, I can prove I've changed." Andre read the email carefully. While he wasn't quick to forget the humiliation he endured, he respected Carter's effort to take responsibility. He replied with a brief but encouraging note, urging Carter to continue on his journey of self-improvement. As for the hotel, the Majestic Crown experienced a surge in bookings after the incident. Guests appreciated the transparency and the visible steps being taken to create a welcoming environment. The story became a part of the hotel's legacy, a turning point that demonstrated how even a moment of conflict could lead to meaningful change and profit to the organization. One evening, as Andre strolled through the lobby, he noticed Emily training a group of new hires. She carried herself with confidence, her voice clear as she explained the importance of treating every guest with respect. Andre paused to watch, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. A guest approached him, recognizing him from the news coverage. "Mr. Bennett," she said, "thank you for what you did. It's inspiring to see someone use their influence to make a difference." Andre smiled warmly. "Thank you. But change isn't about just one person. It's about all of us working together to create a better future. As he left the hotel that night, Andre couldn't help but reflect on how far he'd come, from a young man with big dreams to a leader shaping the industry. The incident at the Majestic Crown had been painful, but it reinforced his belief that every challenge was an opportunity for growth. And as the lights of the city twinkled around him, Andre knew that his journey was far from over. He was just getting started. As weeks passed after the incident at the Majestic Crown Hotel, Andre Bennett focused on implementing the sweeping changes he had promised during the Diversity and Inclusion Summit. The hotel chain underwent a transformation, with mandatory sensitivity training, anonymous feedback systems for staff and guests, and a revamped code of conduct that emphasized respect, professionalism, and accountability. The Majestic Crown became a symbol of progress, setting a precedent for the entire hospitality industry. Meanwhile, Mr. Carter struggled to move forward after his abrupt dismissal. The viral nature of the story had tarnished his reputation, and he faced difficulty finding another management position in the hospitality industry. Though he had sent Andre an email apologizing for his actions, he sent another email to Andre asking for a second chance. Andre was firm in his response. Andre's reply was concise but clear. Mr. Carter, while I appreciate your apology and your willingness to learn, the role of a manager is to lead by example. Your actions that evening did not reflect the values this company stands for, and I cannot in good conscience reinstate you to your position. I hope you will take this as an opportunity for growth and reflection. Andre's decision wasn't rooted in anger or vindictiveness, it was a matter of principle. He believed in second chances, but also understood the importance of maintaining integrity within the company. Mr. Carter's behavior had been a breach of trust, not just with Andre but with the guests and employees he was supposed to serve. Andre wanted the staff to see that accountability wasn't just a corporate buzzword but a standard that applied to everyone. The Majestic Crown flourished under its new leadership. Emily, the trainee who had shown potential during the incident, was promoted to an assistant managerial role. Under her guidance and the mentorship of the general manager, Mr. Caldwell, the hotel regained the trust of its staff and guests. Employees spoke of feeling more valued and empowered, and guests praised the hospitality that now felt genuine and inclusive. 1 year after the incident, Andre visited the Majestic Crown once more, this time as part of an internal audit. He walked through the bustling lobby, observing the interactions between staff and guests. It was clear that the culture had shifted for the better. Smiles were genuine, conversations were warm, and the hotel exuded a sense of belonging. As Andre was preparing to leave, Emily approached him, her confidence now evident in the way she carried herself. "Mr. Bennett," she said with a smile, "thank you for believing in me. This place feels so different now, and I'm proud to be part of it." Andre smiled back. "You earned it, Emily. Keep leading with integrity, and this hotel will continue to thrive." As for Mr. Carter, he had taken Andre's words to heart. Though he wasn't reinstated, he took a step back from hospitality and began working in a smaller community-oriented role, volunteering at local organizations that focused on education about implicit bias and inclusion. The experience had humbled him, and while he wasn't proud of his actions, he used them as a lesson to be better. Andre's handling of the incident at the Majestic Crown became a case study in leadership. His ability to transform a moment of injustice into an opportunity for change was celebrated, not just within the hospitality industry but in business circles worldwide. The Majestic Crown and its sister properties thrived, earning accolades not only for their luxurious accommodations but also for their commitment to fairness and respect. In the end, Andre's journey wasn't just about running a successful business, it was about creating a legacy of integrity and equity. And as he stood at the threshold of the Majestic Crown one last time, watching guests and staff interact with warmth and kindness, he knew he had achieved what he set out to do. The hotel wasn't just a place to stay, it was a symbol of progress, a reminder that even the smallest moments of change could ripple into something far greater. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to Home of Stories TV. And do not forget to turn on the notification bell for more inspiring stories. Drop your comments below, let us know your thoughts.